We're jumping into game number 1, North American LCS promotion tournament, Team EnVy versus Gold Coin United. The Hextech ultimatum goes down as well, and it switches the tower angle actually over to Lyra. He's got to hop away from that one. He's going to wind up coming back into the fray. Solo's taking up a lot of damage. The taunt goes down onto Seraph. They're still juggling this tower aggro. The hook shot to follow, but Solo stays alive.
Be careful, shockwave, careful, shockwave.
Careful, shockwave.
Good play. Nice, go.
Here, shockwave.
Baron.
Seraph's going to revive, has to flash away. Lyra going to be jumping out of this fight as well, but a flash taunt forward from Solo going to try to lock at the back line here. Seraph, though, continues to stay alive. At the same time, though, GCU will just collapse on them. 3 kills. Phoenix is split pushing the tower. Everything's coming up GCU. Welcome back, everyone. GCU has chosen to stay on red side for game number 2 after controlling a normally very active early game EnVy in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Lyra still had a gold lead at 15, but he wasn't having the same impact that we're used to seeing out of him. And I think a lot of it came down to the draft that Gold Coin United was able to get there. They had a winning bot lane just due to the way that the support bands worked out. They were able to grab Nami, one of the last really annoying supporty push style champions. And then they also had the Lee Sin, who I know it's not the flashy Lee Sin people love watching, but just being able to invade pretty aggressively and be safe during it and get a lot of vision down to stop Lyra from influencing side lanes. Even if his pathing's still going to be really good, even if he's still going to out-CS you, stopping him from taking over the game is the big thing. And the Ashe pick, the pressure from bot lane, the Lee Sin, I thought all of it worked really well together.
Yeah, and fans who may not be familiar with the style that Gold Coin United has pulled off throughout the Challenger Series. They play games like this almost all the time. It was a little bit more slow, it was a little bit more controlled, and they definitely didn't go for super flashy plays. Even the score lines in that game, Phoenix, who is a split-pushing monster in that game, 1, 2, and 4 on the Vladimir, even though he was potentially one of the most influential picks on the side of GCU.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of thing that you're a little surprised to see out of Phoenix. Usually this dude's going crazy and he's taking over games through kills and stuff like that. This time it was a lot more just about the pressure and being able to proto-belt forward onto the Orianna nonstop and keep chunking him out of side lane so he couldn't defend turrets. And we still saw a little bit of that crazy decision-making out of Phoenix. Took a couple fights that seemed risky, but he didn't get punished for them. His team is probably a little used to it at this point. They know they need to follow up on Phoenix when he decides it's time to go. And we saw them, coming into those 2v4s that he decided to pick and ending up in a 5v5 situation.
Yeah, and even then, it was him split pushing later on in the stages of the game that just opened up the rest of the map for his team to go into a 4v4 situation rather than a 4v5 or a 5v5 where the Orianna command shockwave could have been a little bit more impactful. So Gold Coin United definitely looked control in game number 1. But for the side of Team EnVy, we didn't necessarily see them playing the style of game we're used to seeing them play. Sure, Lyra picked up first blood 15 minutes into the game, but at the 20-minute mark, they weren't nearly as dominant as they were previously.
And to be fair, it did seem like EnVy was trying to go with the style that we're used to seeing out of them. They had the split pusher for Seraph, which is something we saw extremely successful during his time in the Challenger Series. Did not work out this time around, and they still put resources up there. Lyra tried one dive. They tried a second one that was turned around by Solo, playing it pretty well. And this is something that's a little concerning if you're an EnVy fan, because that is seemingly a fairly repeatable game for Gold Coin United. They're playing the style of game that they want to play, and it did seem to smother EnVy a little bit.
No, EnVy did not put a lot of priority on where their bottom lane matchup was going to be. In the last couple of weeks of the NA/LCS, we have kind of seen them rely on Apollo, whether it's the Ziggs or the Caitlyn pick, to be kind of that late game presence for them. Wasn't necessarily the same when the Varus Braum matchup in lane was not the winning lane that they wanted to have together. They are going to wind up adjusting things here in picks and bans for game number 2, almost right out of the get-go, because they've banned away Vladimir.
It makes sense. We haven't seen a great answer to Vladimir generally in the LCS so far, and if Phoenix is going to have performances like that, we've seen teams willing to even, kind of blind pick it last on that red side. EnVy does not want to give them the chance to do that in the first round of the draft phase.
No, the Ziggs being taken away as well from Gold Coin United, and the Camille being banned away from EnVy, so already showing that they are changing things a little bit more. They first picked that Camille on the blue side mainly because it was left open and they felt like they needed to take it away. We saw Seraph kind of want to be the split push threat on the map that he just necessarily wasn't able to wind up becoming for his team, so they decided to drop that one away. We'll see if they still decide to ban the Lulu, though. Gold Coin United, we mentioned earlier, opting to stay on the red side for this game. Team EnVy could leave that one up.
It's a little curious that EnVy decided to go with blue side in game 1. We've seen the win rate generally be higher on red side this patch. Over on the other series, Team Liquid elected to take red side at the start. So I think there's been a lot more priority on red side generally this patch, and EnVy electing to start blue side means that they might be stuck on it for a little while here.
EnVy have decided to ban Zyra away as their 3rd ban in the first ban phase. So surprisingly, that means Malzahar, Lulu, Rengar, Kha'Zix, very powerful first pick champion, still left completely open. I mean, you still wind up having the entire AD carry pool, save for the Ziggs, who the bot laner himself.
AD carry pool, bot carry pool.
Marksman, bot laner pool, but it wound up being the Elise being banned away from Lyra, so not the jungler we expected to be being banned first off.
No, not necessarily. And we see the Lulu first pick come in for Team EnVy here. I do like this change. You talked about how the bot lane of Team EnVy has been doing a lot better in recent weeks. They've actually grabbed a lot of first turrets using that kind of Caitlyn push comp or the Ziggs as well. And so I like the fact that this time around they're not going to let Hakuho kind of get bullied onto the Braum through 5 support bans and another first pick away from him here, getting the Lulu for himself, basically the best support on this patch as well.
Yeah, and he's actually 4-2 on that Lulu in the North American LCS, which when you think of it in the perspective of the fact this is the 10th place NA LCS team, it's a large percentage of their wins.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge number for them. And we see once again, Goldcoin United electing to go with that Ashe pick early on. Like I said before in game 1, I like this pick a lot. It is able to track Lyra during the early game. It gives them a lot of engage tools with MASH. And we see them, for the most part, looking like they want to run back the exact same comp. They grab Shen again as well.
Hey, you said if you were Goldcoin United or an EnVy fan, that you could definitely see them running back the very same kind of composition and this being something that EnVy needs to be able to adapt to. They've definitely changed out a couple of bans. You know, 100% be the same composition because the Vladimir's been banned away. But, I mean, Phoenix can still pick something he can scale into the later stages of the game. He's been a Cassiopeia monster. We'll see if they want to prioritizing that from the side of Goldcoin United in this first pick phase, whereas Team EnVy, they got a little bit more bully-oriented. They still wound up picking out the Varus, but the Varus and the Lulu, much more of a bully lane than the previous matchup with the Braum. And actually going over their Renekton as well, which they banned away from solo in game number 1.
Be a little surprised that they do go with the Renekton pick. It still beats Shen early on and will have a pressure advantage, but it's not at all like the Camille where late in the game you have to be worried about this thing split pushing down your turrets. The Renekton will definitely start getting controlled by the Shen pick. But it feels like EnVy might have said after that last game, we don't want to have a slow early game around again. Camille not super strong in the top side early on. Bot lane was obviously a losing matchup in the mid lane. Pretty even for the most part. Vladimir can farm that one out. So they're trying to change it up, find some pressure in their side lanes. They've done a good job securing that kind of early on. But the question is, can they get enough of a lead that Goldcoin United's slow and steady style doesn't take over?
No, the Karma is going to be the lock-in here for GCU in the last round of the first pick phase. So they go for a bit more of a sustained support. They have the shields, bit of a pokey champion as well. So Mad Life, we already seen getting a lot of harass down on that Nami in the lane phase. Now as a champion that is even more adept at doing so with the Karma pickup. The second ban phase, though, Goldcoin United and Team EnVy look to be focusing down on different sides. Already a Nidalee ban, which, if you've watched the NALCS in recent weeks, it's become one of the Lyra staples in the jungle.
Right, if you haven't been watching EnVy games, you might look at that Nidalee ban and be like, what is that about? And it is about Lyra's crazy AD Nidalee that has stomped a lot of teams in the NALCS recently, so that's a very good ban, I think, on the side of Goldcoin United. Keep them off that. As well as the Lee Sin ban, a little bit of a surprise, but it's one of the few really aggressive playmaking champions in the early game still left, with the Elise already banned away as well, so he might end up stuck on something like a Kha'Zix or Rengar again, as both those champions are available.
And we'll see if Goldcoin United are going to wind up picking a jungler in this first rotation, as they have banned 2 out away, and it will be the Kha'Zix being picked up. So Rengar being the jungler that really kind of pops into mind now. Makes sense with the Elise ban in context too, because now all of a sudden there are 4 potential junglers taken off the table, and Rengar for Lyra has not been the most successful champion for him. It looks like they may be hovering with the Graves, which is definitely been something he's seen a bit more success on. He's played that one 5 times in any LCS so far.
And it definitely plays to his style. We talked about how last game, even though he was controlled for the most part, his smart pathing still netted him a pretty large advantage over Santorin just in terms of golden XP. And Graves is a perfect champion for that because as he scales up throughout the game, he's one of the few true kind of late game carries available in the jungle, able to function basically like a second marksman.
And that's actually going to be crucial because EnVy has definitely had troubles transitioning into that later stage of the game. Just to piggyback off the fact, even though Lyra's played the Graves 5 times, he hasn't won with it yet in the NALCS, so this could potentially be a new leaf being turned over for him and definitely giving more stronger late game pressure for the side of EnVy.
It's definitely a pick that doesn't have as much early game influence as some of those other champions we were talking about, like the Elise and the Lee Sin. And if you're Team EnVy and you rely on Lyra to carry your early game, Graves is not the best champion to do it, though it is obviously a great late game champion. You're kind of sacrificing his early game playmaking to say, all right, Lyra, these games might go late. you want to on a more impactful champion like this Graves pick.
Well, now you also have some gank assistance from your lanes, though, on the solo side. You have Seraph with the Renekton, who has a targeted stun, just a point. Basically, you activate it and auto attack and you stun. You have the Ahri charm coming out from Ninja, so you do have ways to still gank these lanes, but you yourself are dealing more damage than you would have been in the previous game.
And we saw the last pick that came in there was the Orianna, which was picked into the Ahri. Now, generally, Ahri is considered a counter pick to Orianna, so this is a little bit of Phoenix putting his foot down, saying, I'm not scared of Ninja. I'm going to take this slight counter matchup and get the better team fighter out of it.
Nah, I mean, that's what Phoenix kind of does, though. We saw him taking the Rise versus the Cassiopeia in the North American Challenger Series finals. He played both sides of that matchup against Fox and wound up crushing him. So I guess in this case, Phoenix is going, hey, Ninja, you liked Orianna? I can do it better. And
this time around, they have a very different style comp. The Orianna is not a champion that particularly wants to be in that kind of 1-3-1 split push situation, quite the way Vladimir is both a great team fighter and split pusher. So the core of the comp with the Shen and the Ashe is still around, but they're not going to have as much bully potential in the top and bot lane, and the Orianna pick doesn't have that split push later on. So very different style game here for Gold Coin United.
The same thing for Team EnVy, though. They don't necessarily have the Orianna on their side, so there's no potential more quote-unquote team fight power. They actually never got to really demonstrate in game number 1. This time around, it's a lot more single target damage, a lot more damage overall, and a lot more on the early game focus than transitioning into kind of Lyra and Apollo being that later game style of carry for themselves. But we'll have to see if EnVy is going to shore up some of those holes from game number 1, or if Gold Coin United is going to be looking to jump out to a 2-0 lead. It's game number 2 of the 2017 Summer Promotion Tournament here at the NALCS. And the Challenger team has come out swinging, taking the first game.
I know, a lot of us were talking about how, oh my God, these NALCS teams are some of the best we've ever seen. It's going to be so tough for the Challenger teams this time around. And Gold Coin United kind of shutting us up right away in game 1.
It definitely wasn't the easiest victory, but it definitely looked smooth from Gold Coin United.
Right, it wasn't like they crushed them, but that was never Gold Coin United's style really anyways. So in that regard, it did look fairly reminiscent in their victories in the Challenger Series. And that's why, you know, I was saying this might be a little bit scary if you're an EnVy fan, because this is kind of the Gold Coin United script that they played out in game 1.
Well, that's what happens when you are a pseudo LCS team, or so Apollo has called them, as now it's going to be on EnVy to see how they can adapt in this one. They are still on the blue side this time around, as Gold Coin United got the side selection in game number 2. We'll see Mash. Mash on that Ashe was definitely a pivotal pick for Gold Coin United. We mentioned already how they play a lot of vision control. Those hot shots are spotting out Lyra. This time around, he might not need to be as proactive with the hot shot, since Lyra might be a little bit more of a farming bot this game around. But we'll see if Lyra gets to go for that aggressive counter jungling style we've seen players like Santorin do when he gets Graves.
Yeah, and Graves definitely isn't incapable of making things happen in the early game. He's just not quite the skirmisher that you see some of these other ones. He doesn't have any CC that he brings, so it's hard for him to really get a lot of setup if his laners don't have some. I mean, all of them do have some form of CC, but it's not the easiest time for him. He doesn't have a massive gap close or anything. He kind of needs the circumstances to be right, and Lyra's a great jungler, so I think he can probably find those. But do want to see more out of him this time around.
We'll see how aggressive this bottom lane matchup gets to be, as Hakuo on this Lulu pickup, one of those more successful support champions, has gone for the Thunderlord's Decree as well, so he gets a little bit of extra damage here. But Hakuo and Apollo, game number 1, they were aggressively shoved under tower by Mash and Madlife, and already at level 1, getting a little bit of the disadvantage in these trades.
Definitely a little annoying. Karma level 1, a champion with a lot of push. Lyra hops the wall there after just clearing out 2 camps, going for a blue side counter jungle. Gold Coin United's going to know this one's coming, though, as Santorin got over the wall. I think, he pinged out the ward. The ward had not dipped into vision yet, so they should know that Lyra is down here. And it doesn't look like Santorin wants to play this one aggressively, instead backing off to his wolf camp.
Yeah, so Santorin not going to get super aggressive there. Lyra, however, is going to back away himself. Looked like there was a ward that had expired in that rush there from Gold Coin United, but Lyra, after taking the Scuttle Crab, looks like he might be going in for a little bit of an invade still. Might be going around towards the Grom side. These 2 junglers, we didn't see too much of them bumping into each other last game early on, but it looks like they made this time around as the bottom lane shove going a little bit in favor of EnVy, so Lyra may have a little bit of support if he chooses to fight this one. That ward in the area knows that Santorin's trying to take that blue buff. Lyra's going to wind up walking up, does not get the reset on the blue buff, instead smites it away for the steal.
Good patience there out of Lyra, drops the ward down, falls back to the Scuttle Crab while he waits to see what Santorin's going to do. Wasn't sure, so he was moving in for a Gromp steal, and that's when he saw Santorin start that blue buff off. Still not done with these invades, and his bot lane's coming to support him now as well.
Well, Madlife's also come up here as well, so now it's going to be a support and jungle duo. Santorin has to smite the Gromp just in order to keep himself alive here. They are going to use the Scryer's Loom as well, as now we see mid laners roaming down, and I mean, this is Envy utilizing one of the advantages we said they needed to here. Phoenix actually might get caught out here. The charge's going to wind up landing, immediately cleanses that one away.
Nice pressure out of Lyra so far. He's stolen away an enemy buff. He's forced out a summoner now out of mid lane. And we talk about the Graves pick not being the best ganker, but he still has a lot of power in the early game.
He's still super annoying, especially if you're the opposing jungler. And that was one of the things that we said Envy is going to have to pressure as a strength and as an advantage over Goldcoin United's jungler Santorin. Is
not even letting
still
him back.
Not safe. Yeah, he can't back. He can't take this Gromp. Lyris is all up in his face still.
And the nice thing, too, is it also adds a lot of pressure to the bot lane as well. You want your Karma and Ashlane to shove in aggressively nonstop. They have a hard time doing that when they constantly need to worry about getting collapsed on here. Santorin going to get caught out by Lyra.
Oh, the end of the line against the wall gets a lot of damage. The flash away from Santorin, but a flash to follow. First blood to Lyra.
Oh, and we see Goldcoin United not wanting to let this one go away unpunished. They collapse and pick up a kill, but the red buff had expired. That's something that Envy's bot lane is going to be very happy about, but most importantly, the first blood going over to Lyra. Goldcoin United getting the assisted kill, though.
Yeah, and Lyra just showing that persistence is key here as he's able to just stay in Santorin's jungle and pick up that kill.
And it's really surprising to see the way he's playing this Graves pick. Like I was saying, I thought he would go for a more farm-centric style. Instead, he's trying to abuse the kind of range advantage that Graves has versus a lot of junglers and just bully Santorin off these camps. And the rest of Envy does seem really ready to back him up in all these situations. You saw early on, Hakuho was in the jungle with him, stopping Mad Life from getting involved. And it seems like Envy was very prepared for this kind of style that Lyra's going for.
Well, while Envy had the support of their jungler and their bottom lane, it looks like Goldcoin United has the support of the fans, at least so far in this game. They are up 1-0, so that may be influencing things just a little bit. But now Goldcoin United, without Santorin having a safe jungle pattern, I'm really interested to see, is he going to be able to get those aggressive invades down for Vision as easily as he was in game number 1 when they were pretty much on even footing?
It's going to be hard for him, especially considering the fact that last game, Goldcoin United had winning lane in the bot lane that was kind of stomping, and up in the top side, Shen versus Camille early on is fine for Shen. So this time around, with the Renekton pick, with the Lulu pick, Envy has a lot stronger side lane, so it's harder for Santorin to move in. And especially given how the early game started for Lyra, he's very strong already. He went up to the top side, started clearing that off because it was neglected with all that invading, and now he's already up to level 5, going to keep farming this one out.
Yep, so level 5 on the Graves compared to level 4 of Santorin's Kha'Zix. Already gone back, picked himself up a longsword in addition to that Tracker's Knife. Mid lane matchup here too. Phoenix still getting a little bit better of Ninja, but he did have to burn that cleanse early on when Lyra kind of wrapped around into that mid lane, getting a little bit more pressure. But the CS advantages in these lanes kind of going on different sides. The early Renekton pick in the top lane, about a 10 CS advantage over the Shen. We'd expect that one, but the Orianna, generally a little disadvantage in the matchup against the Ahri. Slight CS advantage, mainly just because it's Phoenix.
Yep, mostly because it's Phoenix. That's something you heard a lot during the Challenger Series. Oh, he's on the bad matchup, but he's up 10 CS. He's Phoenix.
Yeah, well, no, you heard that in the LCS, too.
Yeah, we heard that then, too. To be fair, the already counter pick really starts unlocking at 6 when you can kind of just go aggressive with your ultimate, and it's very hard for Orianna to trade back evenly when she almost has no hope of landing hers.
And we continuing to get some pressure down on the bottom side of the map, and interestingly enough, there has been a lot of pressure. Game 1 and Game 2 have seemed to be focused around not necessarily the bottom lane, but the bottom side of the map in general, where normally when you talk about Team Envy, you talk about the fact that this was Seraph and Ninja, and then they have, you know, the Korean synergy with their jungler and Lyra, and they usually played at the top side of the map. This time around, everything is happening on the bottom side for both of these teams.
Right, and it was a lot of it due to the kind of jungle pathing that they were aware the other team was going for. They knew that Santorin started on the bot side. We saw that Lyra was trying to get away the blue steal, and then he spent so long down there. It was around 5 minutes before all that was kind of concluding. So a lot of attention down the bot lane here. Now, after the supports got their resets off, they all run down there, drop more vision. So a lot of focus down there. Haven't been looking up in the top lane too much, but it's Renekton versus Shen.
Yeah, well, this looks very similar to what we saw the early lane of game number 1 when it was the Camille versus Shen. Was Camille pushes in the Shen gets a taunt under tower, Camille backs away for a second, farms up all the minions, and then heals up and trades again.
And kind of like last game as well, Lyra has made his way up to the top side now, potentially looking for a dive. Gonna recall out. Very risky to do against Shen, given that he's basically full health. I'm not exactly sure where Santorin is either. Good decision not to actually go for anything there. Probably was just looking for Krugs, and once he saw those were down, decided to back off.
The diving of the Shen didn't quite work when it was a 3v1 at a later point in game number 1, so might not want to chance that as a 2v1 in the earlier stages here of game number 2. Both of these teams continuing to play it out a little bit more farm-centric. There was the first blood on the bottom side of the map, but now more lane advantages here on the bottom side for Team EnVy. Is actually they're going to get jumped on here. The flash wave from Apollo as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land. GCU, they get a Summoner spell for an ult.
Not a bad trade at all for GCU there, forcing Mash's flash. And it's pretty interesting to look at the difference in itemization of the AD carries here against the pokey Q spamming Varus. You see Ashe going for early boots too, getting those Berserker Greaves, so she has more movement to dodge out on that stuff. And at the same time, Mash not going for that at all. But now you see might get punished for being a little slower.
Santorin finds a hole in the vision and delivers a Shen down into the bottom side here. Apollo's got nowhere to go. Mash picks up a kill.
Really well played there by Gold Coin United. They open up once in the 2v2 to force the flash out. Now that the Summoner is down, they instantly set up a play to follow up on that advantage that they just got. I talked about how Gold Coin United is a great team at playing around their micro advantages. You get to see an example right there.
Yep, they burn the Summoner spell and immediately respawn onto that bottom side of there. Focusing down on this tower as well, but it looks like double teleport's going to get channeled here. There's a Shen coming from base, a Renekton coming from lane. Never mind.
Little game of chicken there. Both turn away though.
So no one's going to want to collapsing on that one. GCU did potentially have the man advantage over there as EnVy just kind of trying to match it. So tower's not going to go down, but they do want to pick up some kills. And more importantly, Sarah's just going to be able to wail away on this tower a little bit more. Well, it's still pretty healthy.
Right, and it's nice for Gold Coin United to be able to trade globals like that for a little bit, because now, even though they traded evenly, you see Shen's ultimate is basically over 33% off cooldown right now. It's going to be getting close to half off in a little bit, and that's going to be available before the teleport's available for Seraph, so should be able to have a small window to make a play, though it's not going to be the biggest one.
It's definitely going to take a while for that to happen, too. Shen, when he came down to the bottom side, picked up an assist, but he's still at about a 15 CS deficit against the Renekton, so he is going to want to hang on to this lane for a little bit longer. But he did want it going back and picking up a Bammy Cinder, so he will have a little bit of extra shove pressure back, at least minion-wise, against this Renekton. Bottom side of the map, while they did wind up going down, is still a slight CS advantage in the favor of Apollo, but now there's 2 kills picked up by Mash. Has continued to pick up, you mentioned the boots too and the Berserker Greaves. Got the recurve bow, looks to be going for the Blade of the Ring King Ashe build again.
Definitely a fan of that Ashe build. I know for a lot of people they still do go for that Essence Reaver build, but I like the extra kind of dueling power early on with the Blade of the Ring King. As we see Phoenix getting jumped on.
Phoenix going to use the cleanse almost immediately here. Command Shockwave's going to lock both of them up. Phoenix flash away, dips and dodges away. Phoenix survives the 1v2.
That was so well played by Phoenix, being able to dodge out on both the end of the line and collateral damage. Very scary there, but some good footwork out of Phoenix, and he gets out alive.
Picked up those early Sorcerer shoes, giving him a little bit of extra movement speed here, but Phoenix putting on the moves and good command Shockwave.
And Lyra almost was able to flash out of range of that. Very close to getting over the Shockwave. If that worked, he could have just finished Phoenix off with auto attacks or something, but because he gets pulled in, it not only pulls him further away, but it gives Phoenix a little extra time to keep running. And then, like we just said, really well played by Phoenix to dodge out both of those last shots coming in from Lyra.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the turnaround in a 1v2 kill that we've seen Phoenix get in the Challenger Series finals. However, does not die, and that is extremely crucial to the point that Gold Coin United already has a slight kill advantage. Still a gold deficit compared to EnVy in this early game, but keeping Phoenix alive in that mid lane is going to be crucial. But Gold Coin United, off the back of a nice play from Phoenix mid, now going to be looking to go for a Dragon play while the rest of EnVy has had to go back. Ari looks like he's going to be donated over the blue buff this time, so Gold Coin United is finding a nice hole in the timing of that blue buff pass off of Phoenix Dragon. Right,
it's a pretty old timing that's been around for forever. Basically, blue side, when you go for that blue buff handoff anytime after your first blue buff, it can be exploited by the red side team to go for Dragon. This time around, it's an Ocean Drake. Nice for Gold Coin United to be able to grab this. Just 12 minutes in the game, still a lot of laning left, most likely given the fact that we haven't seen anyone able to turn a play and get a turret low. So going to help out Gold Coin United's laning phase just a little bit here.
It's one of my favorite dragons to get, and it's also one of the ones that suits Gold Coin United's style extremely well. I mean, granted, it's no Infernal Drake, so you're not going to be able to push down and get towers and get fights and advantages in your favor, but the way that Gold Coin United likes to stay on the map, the way that they've been able to, continue to control vision and move around from Baron buff to Dragon in the later stages of the game and continue to push and pull teams around, keeping yourself extremely healthy will be crucial as you get into the late game. It's now Ninja taking a lot of damage. That Clockwork windup is stacked up, and Phoenix says, I don't even need a jungler to take you down. Yeah,
Phoenix gets the solo kill against Ninja, who still had his flash available, just did not respect Phoenix's 1v1 kill pressure there. Goes down, and this is what we were talking about. You give Phoenix bad matchups, he survives your gank attempts, avoids the 1v2, and then trades back on his own. And this is why he was such a monster in the Challenger Series. He is still playing at an extremely high level. don't sleep on this guy at all. He might be the kind of big X factor this series for Gold Coin United.
Hey, we said that this is one of the scariest promotion tournaments yet to date, and I mean, granted, it's because we have two very strong NALCS teams. We got a mid laner like Phoenix who's coming up from Challenger, and he's got Mad Life on his team. It's going back to the fact that there's so many big names and so many big play potentials here. GCU's biggest strength in this matchup was that mid lane, and another solo kill picked up here by Phoenix just demonstrates that.
Yeah, and I admit that I was one of the, talked about the two different kinds of people and their opinions on Phoenix. Some thought he was a top 3, top 4 mid laner. Some thought he was an Azir 1-trick. I admit I was much more in the camp of Phoenix being a top 3, top 4 mid laner. I was very high on this guy. Yeah, I had experience working with him as well, and he really is just a monster in terms of mechanics and knowing how to play out situations, and you see it coming into play here. So you talk about how stacked, yeah, the NALCS rosters are. Challenger Series rosters, pretty stacked as well, having potentially one of the best mid laners in North America on them.
Yeah, meanwhile, EnVy side Ninja has been a little bit of a pain point for their team so far. And this Ahri pickup, he hasn't necessarily gotten the ball rolling quite yet. However, the top side of the map has been a bit of a strong point for EnVy, and it will continue to be a strong point in this game here as Lyra, after picking up First Blood extremely early on, has accrued a large farm advantage over his jungle opponent in Santorin and has helped transition that top side and takes down the first tower of the game for EnVy.
This is definitely what we were expecting out of Lyra when we hyped him up so much coming into this series. We saw him with the early aggressive plays in the bot side jungle, then transitioned into a farming monster, gets a huge CS lead, and then rotates up to where he has the most pressure on the map, that top side with the Renekton pick, able to pressure Solo away from the turret at a perfect timing too, right when Santorin was handing off that blue buff. So that just shows the intelligence that Lyra has here, able to grab the first turret of the game for his team.
So EnVy continuing to hold on to that gold advantage, now increasing it to 1.5k gold off of that first tower blood, or first tower gold they've gotten. And that, of course, has transitioned into the fact that they picked some big-ticket items down. We had the Warrior Enchantment finished and an additional serrated dirt picked up for Lyra in the jungle. Also, a Black Cleaver and a Tiamat picked up for Renekton, so he's kind of at, like, that very good spike in power for the early game split push factor of that. Solo has gone back and picked up Ninja Tabby and his Unsunfire cape, so he's no slouch. However, Gold Coin United on the bottom side of the map with a finished Blade of the Ring King on Ashe and Boots 2, able to push down this tower. Santorin was around the area too, just to make sure that EnVy couldn't really contest that one. They've evened up the tower count, but not quite the gold count.
Right, they're kind of in one of those split map situations where EnVy has given up a lot of the vision and pressure on the bot side in exchange for the top side. You saw Lyra going up there to help secure the turret for Seraph, and then this time around, Santorin giving a little bit of extra pressure down to that bot side. EnVy was aware, given how much vision they have on the top side of the map, that Santorin was definitely down there, so they back away from the turret. Gold Coin United able to even up the turrets taken, but like you said, EnVy getting the first turret gold.
See a bit of trade situation as Seraph really wants those Krugs, stealing them away as Solo just tries to swat him away. Gold Coin United now, we'll see what their next move is going to be. We already said that they've been very proactive with being able to move their duo around the map, but more importantly, they've been proactive with Mad Life as soon as that tower goes down on that bottom side of the map, moves around very effectively with Santorin. And Santorin, who didn't have the best early game, might need that help as Mash here is going to want to need to stand United, flashes away from the piercing arrow, those who will stay alive, but in comes Ninja. He spear rushes forward and picks up a kill for himself, gets the wild growth and the heal out from his bottom lane, so he will survive.
Seraph's teleporting in though. Let's see if he finishes this one off. Wants to cut off the escape of Gold Coin United. Might be able to get around him here.
Gold Coin United's kind of baiting this one out. EnVy's still a little bit far away. Saris used that teleport, but it doesn't look like he's going to get much for that one, so Solo hangs on to his.
EnVy getting a little aggressive there, thinking that they can get more than just that kill onto Mash. Mash was kind of sitting just over the wall there. I'm not quite sure what he was looking for. I thought he was maybe trying to pick somebody off when they walked too far forward, but the rest of his team was not with him there. And Lyra was able to get involved in that play, blow him up almost instantly. It was Ninja who had to come in and finish him off, but a mistake there on the side of Gold Coin United, and with it, EnVy grabbed their second turret of the game, grabbing the bot outer.
Yeah, we see Mash moving up here. Looks like he wanted to maybe put some vision control down, but waiting around. He knows he has Mad Life and Santorin there, but they weren't close enough.
Yeah, they didn't really have the deep vision to know exactly what was going on in the lane yet, so he needed to wait for Mad Life to get more around that wall. But either way, Mad Life might have been in trouble then instead, because it was still a 3v2 situation, and they had a lot of burst available with Graves. So someone might have gone down there for Gold Coin United either way. And now Gold Coin United Still have that global advantage, though, after the slight overextension by Seraph teleporting in there.
Yeah, but more importantly now, Envy, we questioned them in game number 1. Where were their early game advantages? Where were they controlling the game? First blood wound up going in their favor. What did they do off the back of that one? This time around, we're almost at that 20-minute mark where they normally have a gold lead, where they're normally the best team in the North American LCS. They have a solid 2K gold advantage over Goldcoin United right now, but are they going to be able to be proactive with that and go for a fight? But there's an enchanted crystal arrow on the Ninja already, and the fight's been taken to Envy. They will trade 1 for 1 though. Jungler for mid laner trade here as Santorin winds up going down, and GCU, I don't think they can take that Drake anymore.
Good camp in the pixel brush there by Solo, is able to land the taunt onto Ninja, and then a little bit too many resources dumped on finishing Ninja off. You saw the Ash arrow go in there, as well as the Shockwave. Ninja almost lived if they didn't do all of that, but once you spend so many cooldowns just killing a single member on the enemy team, it's really hard to win that fight and be able to trade back. We'll take another look at it here. No one actually checked that brush, baits Ninja into walking too far forward. They're able to finish him off, but there you see, there's no real threat anymore out of a lot of the members of Goldcoin United. No more giant Orianna Shockwave to worry about. Also a good ultimate from Apollo, stopping anyone from being able to chase through too easily, else the tendrils with a spread. So well played by Envy being able to trade back. And the dragon stays alive.
And that Graves damage against the wall, we saw the end of the line and collateral damage just erase Santorin from existence in that fight. Also burned the flash away from Solo just to get himself out of that one. So Goldcoin United, while they're still trying to be the proactive ones on the map and stacking up that win condition in their dragon control, it is now Team Envy at 20 minutes into the game, going for almost a 3,000 gold advantage, which is almost 3 times the average advantage they had in the NALCS. So we had a lot of questions about Envy in game number 1, but they're looking pretty solid here in game 2.
Looking much better, and I think a lot of it does come down to the draft, the fact that they had some winning lanes this time around, and you get to see what Lyra can do to the enemy jungler when it's given space to work with, stealing away the blue buff early on, getting a nice farm advantage through better jungle pathing, and then being able to push down that first turret as well. A lot of these advantages, once again, we talk about them all the time, but do come down to Lyra and his decision-making.
More importantly, it also comes down from the fact that they have a better bottom lane matchup this game.
Right.
Game number 1, it was the fact that GCU pushed down that first tower at like 7 minutes and then opened up the map for Mad Life and Santorin to kind of buddy-buddy run around. This time around, the first blood goes down in about 6-7 minutes in favor of Envy, and the first tower goes down in their favor much later on in the game. So I think a lot of this bottom lane going back in Envy's favor has been advantageous for them, as they are actually going to wind up sneaking this dragon away. GCU tried to collapse onto them there, used the Ash arrow, but Lyra just dashes out.
Yeah, able to hop the wall there to finish securing the second dragon of the game, tying it up 1 ocean dragon apiece. And yeah, just to touch on your point, that's exactly what I mean when I say buying space for your team. If your bot lane is constantly pressured in, and you saw him forced to go down there, and they had that awkward 3v3 stalemate where Santorin and Lyra were just looking at each other while GCU had the better bot lane, that's exactly what I'm talking about, where they don't have spaces. Phoenix going for another solo kill.
Command Shockwave used there, but Ninja's going to get the help pick shield there from Hakuo, so he will not go down through that first combo.
Pretty scary, had no flash available, did have his ult to potentially run away, but had Lulu as the extra kind of guarantee that he would have been okay.
And the insurance policy coming out from Hakuo. Also had the wild growth available, but thankfully did not have to wind up burning that one. But Phoenix himself this game, already mentioned, very big driving force for the side of GCU, 214 to 197 CS. The flip side though, the opposing solo lane, 231 CS in favor of Seraph over the 191 of Solo, who don't expect him to be as good in the early stages of this game compared to a Renekton pickup on the Shen, but definitely has been influential in some of these team fights. 0-0 and 2 record on him is not too shabby.
Nope, and I think having the CS advantage on the harder scaling solo laner in Orianna is much more important than the advantage for Seraph. It's not such an advantage that he's suddenly going to crush the Shen in the solo lane and they'll be able to constantly kill him over and over with Lyra. It's nice. It's a good CS lead to have. It's showing that Envy's playing around their advantages correctly, but it's not backbreaking quite yet. Similarly, it's not backbreaking for the Orianna either, but being ahead on the Orianna is great because you have that huge threat of landing a massive shockwave.
You also got the Morilla, Namakan, and the Rylai's Crystal Scepter completed there. Meanwhile, top side of the map, this is where GCU has rotated their duo lane. Santorin's going to eat the end of a charm right there from Ninja, take a lot of damage, and GCU had to back away as the rest of Envy sending some of the resources up to the top lane to combat this push.
Good play by Ninja there to avoid getting dove by the side of Goldcoin United. The Ash arrow goes wide, and then Santorin needs to run through the turret because the rest of Envy was cutting him off from the backside. Eats charm, but able to get away. Just losing a little bit of health for it.
Both teams have this Lucian Drake to help heal themselves up. Lyra, though, is going to wind up walking into all sorts of ultimates here. Command Shockwave goes down. Lyra has to burn the flash. Wild Growth barely keeps him alive through that.
Yeah, Phoenix turning away that jungle invade by himself. Scares Lyra a little bit there. Forces him back to his base to heal up. Goes back to wave clearing mid lane.
Yep, so Phoenix continuing to be a big point of focus for the side of GCU. Bottom sides of the map have kind of rotated all over the place so far. It looks like EnVyUs will settle down in this mid lane now to contest that Shockwaveless Orianna, whereas Goldcoin United has rotated up towards the top side, but Mad Life continuing to do all sorts of Mad Life things, continuing to deny vision into the opponent's side of the map here. Envy are not being able to get a lot of vision control down into the opponent's red side jungle, which is why Phoenix was able to get that Command Shockwave off on the top side there. But it's been a little bit of a different duty here. Now that Santorin didn't get those early game advantages and didn't basically waste a lot of Lyra's time in the first 15 minutes, he and Mad Life have kind of been more on vision denial duty rather than being more proactive with it. And we've seen Goldcoin United slowly but surely being pushed back on their side of the map because of it.
And another big thing is the fact that they can't set up a 1-3-1 really with the Orianna pick. We've seen it does not fight as well in the long side lanes that tend to happen as you move into the mid-game portion. That was really how Goldcoin United found a lot of their advantages. And as great as Phoenix is playing on this Orianna pick, it just doesn't quite have that kind of ability to take over the map as hard as the Vladimir pick can when it's playing from ahead and has its proto belt available. It can just kind of jump on whoever tries to match it in those side lanes.
Most importantly, it is Envy who are ahead at this point in the game. Almost 25 minutes in, and that gold lead has now increased 42.1k to 37.9k in the favor of Envy. So they found themselves their early game advantages they're used to, but the biggest question for them now, as it has been, is how do they transition into the late game? How do they actually win this game when they have that Renekton that isn't going to be this big for that much longer?
I think you can look at EnVyUs comp and say it still has a little bit weaker of a 5v5. Generally speaking, Shen will outperform Renekton, and Orianna will outperform Ahri. The Gray's pickup is a huge thing, a huge benefit for Envy because they can make plays. Here, Ninja caught out a little bit, though, by Mad Life.
Yep, is going to want to do the Spirit Rush right away, gets exhausted out. Ninja going to want to Spirit Rushing away. Mad Life has to get the Stand United channel just to stay alive. Mash between him and Santorin going to pick up that kill. They used a lot, actually, to shut down Ninja's Ahri there.
Envy's not going to let this go unpunished. They group up around the mid lane turret, going to try and grab their third outer turret of the game here.
Yep, the third outer tower. Watch
alive.
Hakuo down. Command Shockwave gets used to the zone away. Hakuo wants a piece of that tower. It's had the Wild Growth himself. The rest of GCU is kind of coming around from the top side of the map, but they are ultimateless all across the board.
I mean, that thing's going to drop if anyone blows on it, so I don't think that turret's going to stay too healthy.
6 HP.
Yeah, that's probably going to drop pretty quickly. Good defense there by Phoenix, but that's just gold waiting to be cashed in for Envy. And a much better mid-game now out of Envy, punishing GCU for trying to get that kill on the top side. They were able to get it, get another kill onto Ninja. That's great, but it doesn't really change the game circumstance too much here. GCU still in a bit of a hole.
Right, and it's just really good to see Envy having these kinds of responses, because the biggest question has been, as they finally breathe on that tower and it falls down, the question for them has kind of been like, how do they push these advantages forward? Are they able to react to what's going on the map? And a lot of the criticism that came across them were wonky lane assignments, not being able to take the proper kind of team fights in the late game depending on what their composition wanted to do. You have the Ahri split pushing in the side lane, they've grouped up with the remaining 4 in the mid lane, they pressure for that tower and eventually get it.
Right, now with the Dragon spawning in just a couple seconds here, it's an Infernal Dragon. Both these teams desperately want this one, but with Envy this far ahead, it's going to be really hard for Goldcoin United to actually contest this one.
Goldcoin, though, those ultimates have come back available, so the Command Shockwave and the Enchanted Crystal Arrow are both up. Very crucially missing, though, is the Shen Stand United. That one only about 3/4 of the way cooled down. Does have his teleport available, though, and so does Seraph, so while both of them may be at different points in the map, Shen going to be continuing to try to split push this down, so Goldcoin United might not be going for the Dragon right away. Instead, just trying to buy enough time for Shen to take that tower.
Goldcoin United pushing up on the top side, but Lyra pushing away on the bot side. They have priority in the bot lane. They're fighting for priority in the mid lane. They have an inside track on this Dragon because of that.
Yep, Envy's already started this one off. They're going to try to force the teleport out of Shen, who goes immediately into the pit. Seraph with a Guardian Angel picked up will be the target. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands on Solo, though, in the pit. Kind of stuck between a Dragon and the enemy team here. Is just going to wind up walking himself out of that. Envy started up the Dragon, have yet to secure. Goldcoin United don't want this one going over for free. It's still leashed out. Dragon's below 2k HP, and the smite will go to Santorin, but the fight's broken out already. Envy dashing and flashing in, and Goldcoin United have to go into full retreat mode. Envy have not yet picked up a kill. They've lost the Dragon, but are Goldcoin United going to be able to get out unscathed? Looks like yes.
Yeah, Goldcoin United able to get that Dragon there. We see that their team comp being a little bit better at 5v5 team fighting. the fact that Solo was able to teleport in unpunished despite being in a very risky position, like you said. Envy couldn't really punish him for that, and then Lyra wants to walk forward aggressively to try and get the dragon, but he gets focused down pretty heavily by Gold Coin United there. Phoenix's shockwave was not actually able to connect, but it bought enough space for Santorin to move in there and finish off that dragon. Really big for Gold Coin United to grab that one, because as much gold as they are down, they might be able to make some of that back up with grabbing a couple more turrets. Still down 2 turrets overall. They can try and get that gold back, and their team comp does outscale, but that Infernal Dragon, not anything that Envy can try and get back. The next dragon that's coming up is a Mountain Drake. Yeah,
and more importantly, just the fact that A, it was a really good Drake, but B, it was a really good fight by Gold Coin United. We were just mentioning that one of the things that people have been harping on Envy for, and I mean, myself particularly, was the fact that their later game team fights just didn't look as coordinated as their early game skirmishes. And despite being ahead by 4,000 something gold, they wind up losing not just the dragon in that circumstance, but a fight where they actually aren't able to kill anybody just for basically teleporting right in front of their faces.
Right, they're not able to kill anyone, and even though it was kind of Gold Coin United in full retreat mode at the end of that team fight, they couldn't transition it into some other objective. Sometimes, you know, a team overextends trying to secure a dragon contest, and then you're able to get them really low and group up mid lane and grab a turret and kind of trade that way. Gold Coin United played that one cleanly enough that they did not have to sacrifice anything in return.
Yep, so even though Lyra pushed out that bottom side of the map, Envy lose the dragon, lose the fight, and lose any sort of forward pressure off the back of that fight. They still, however, have the gold lead in their favor. So Gold Coin United, they still have to try to make that one up. They've gotten themselves 2 dragons, an Infernal and an Ocean. That top lane tower, though, did not wind up going down. Solo had to teleport into that fight before he actually did so. So they will be sending Phoenix up here, but Ninja's ready and waiting for it.
He's gotta be careful. The Ahri does still have a lot of burst damage available. Can potentially pick off Phoenix. Phoenix not gonna walk forward anymore, just push that wave and get out of there. And one of the things that's been going well for Envy, we talked about how the Lulu pick helped a lot in lane, but it's also helped in a lot of these kind of skirmishy situations where Hakuto was able to keep people healthy. You see Lyra and him moving down once again to meet up with Seraph.
And meanwhile, Solo and Mad Life are trying to defend this tower. It's already taken well below half HP, and Lyra himself just chunking through that one. That Lulu pickup coming in huge here. Lyra loses no life while tanking up a tower.
Right, and this is kind of what we were saying. The Graves pick come later game gets a little crazy. Already has his Black Cleaver finish. Ghostblade done as well. Going for that more pen-heavy build. Some people go for the attack speed, grabbing a Phantom Dancer at some point. We'll have to see what Lyra continues to build from here, but he's already kind of at that late-game Graves damage.
And that, more importantly, is Envy cracking an inner tower. It's on the bottom side of the map, so if they want to go for a Mountain Drake when that one spawns up, it'll be the last elemental dragon of the game. It will be across the map from where the Baron Pit is too, so Gold Coin going to have to respond to a shove down there. They're going to have to respond with one of those global pressures from their side with Solo. Top lane, though, Phoenix is going to eventually push down this tower. Also chunks Ninja down with that command shockwave and the command attack, just combination. The rest of Envy, though, trying to chase after him, but Phoenix is going to walk away.
You saw right as Ninja tried to start ulting, Phoenix was already having his shockwave channeled, shutting down that aggression, sensing it was coming. Chunks out, Ninja stops that and is able to get away scot-free.
Solo catches the arrow.
Good catch. That's that teamwork you want to see.
That's a high five for celebrating Phoenix getting away on the top side.
Oh, we don't need this ultimate anymore. Just shoot this one down at my top lane.
Gold Coin United maybe just getting a little bit too antsy with that one, trying to get a catch in the mid lane after just getting away on the top side of the map and getting an objective there. So trying to go maybe for a couple too many things at the same time. They also simultaneously took down the Scuttle Crab and were getting vision control around the Baron Pit area, but gotta be toning it down just a little bit. They still are at about a 5,000 gold deficit. Now they don't have two of their key ultimates really to kind of turn these fights around.
Right, and I don't think Gold Coin United's in the pressure position where they feel like they're the ones who have to be making plays. So as you want them to hold on to their Ash Arrow, obviously, but it's not like they're setting up a Baron bait and they really need that in the next 30 seconds. And Envy on the top side as well had gotten chunked out, so yep. Ash Arrow almost back available, but they are pressuring around this mid turret.
Yeah, very surprisingly, Gold Coin United, those ultimates unavailable to them, are just going to wind up taking the tower relatively uncontested. Now Envy are going to be looking to get that. Sarah teleports in, tries to get the stun down, the flash, her neck didn't engage, the deadliest of engages, although Mad Life going to use Redemption. Is living for a very long time against Ninja. Mad Life will eventually go down, but it's just a 1 for none.
We get the kill on the tail end of taking the turret for Envy. We'll have to see if they try and transition this kill into anything else. They can potentially start posturing around the Baron buff. They do have some good vision there. And there's still a lot of resources available. Solo gets chunked out.
Yeah, the Chains of Corruption after the Ahri Charmer there, but that's Varus ultimate down now. Solo barely taking any damage. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Ashe and the Command Shockwave from Orianna are both available. Envy, if they want to pressure in the Baron Pit, gotta be a little bit careful though. Looks like they will just back away. So they get that kill, but once again, they don't get much off the back of it.
Yeah, but Lyra's in full solo carry mode. He's split up to the top side, pushing in top wave now. While his team deals with the wave mid, looks like they're going to collapse onto this Baron. A lot of pings going down onto it now, and they still have a lot of that vision that they already secured.
Solo's gone back down to the bot lane to split push. Will have his teleport available. Seraph, in the meantime, can't really go down there to match him. He has to stay grouped up with his team because he used that teleport to get that kill onto Mad Life in that fight just previously. So now Goldcoin United, got to be careful. They had vision control of this area, but it got cleared out. And Mash caught on the opposite side of his team. Wanted going down. Solo channels that teleport, winds up completing it as well, and just dashes over the wall.
Really nice pick there by Envy. Get the top and mid waves pushing, dip into the Baron area, sit in the brush, and eventually Mash exposes himself to get picked off by Ninja there. Once again, this is basically the 2 minutes in a row of Envy having a man advantage over Goldcoin United. We need to see if they can actually start grabbing some objectives with it.
Well, they're starting to flesh out this Baron Pit area, flushing it of vision from the side of GCU. Seraph, in the meantime, pops his Dominus. He's not actually going to wind up going. Doesn't have the flash available. Use that one to get over the wall in the last fight. Solo, in the meantime, working as the front line against the 4 members by the Baron Pit, but Seraph with that ultimate already about halfway done. Charging into the front lines, and Envy, they're still struggling to try to find anything whatsoever off the back of these picks.
All right, you think as soon as they get that 80 carry down, they could force a little bit harder, but they don't have great engage tools. Basically, it's on Apollo hitting someone with the Varus ultimate to really kick the fight off. And Goldcoin United did a good job making sure that Solo was the only one really presenting himself as a target for Envy there. And they were able to snip out the fact that Envy was not, in fact, on Baron buff. And then they could just kind of bait that one out. Here you see Mash thinking he's safe with everyone else in the river, but it's Ninja over the side of the wall, going to cut him off there and pick up a kill.
Yeah, it looked like he did not want to follow Santorin into that part of the river, decided to try to wrap back around, and instead gets caught off by Ninja.
Yeah, good play overall. I mean, like you said, usually you think everyone's going to be off on one side together, but Ari, one of the best assassins in the game right now, sitting over the wall so that when you try and back out of where the rest of Envy's coming from, your escape path is cut off.
Well, with so much vision control being centered around the Baron Pit, Lyra knows that that Dragon is going to be A-okay for the takings as he gets the second Drake of the game, the first Mountain Drake of the game, which will help Envy in this Baron contesting it. They decide to turn and burn that one, 10% extra damage to it. It's going to be a huge factor for their team.
And overall, with the Grace pick, their Baron damage is better than what you might think. A Renekton, not super impressive. An Ahri, not super impressive. A Blade of the Room King Varus, not bad, but with a pretty fed Graves, that is going to do a lot of damage to the Baron buff. And like you said, getting that extra 10% from the Mountain Drake makes it so Goldcoin United start having to worry about the Baron getting burned down quickly.
And we saw already there, Lyra with about a 3,000 gold advantage in and of himself over his opposing jungler in Santorin. So the tale of two junglers, which is kind of one of the highlight matchups that we were looking going into this matchup here. Going in favor of Lyra this time around. Santorin hasn't been able to establish the same amount of control from the jungle as they did in game number 1. And Envy, they found themselves in a significant gold advantage now past the 35-minute mark. Interestingly enough, though, it's not a lot of times that Envy get to this 35-minute mark, let alone have a gold lead at that point in time.
Nope, definitely. Late game is a situation that Goldcoin United is comfortable playing in. Like we said, they traditionally started game 1s pretty slow over the course of the Challenger Series, so they've been in this situation a couple times. Now getting collapsed on by the teleporting Seraph.
Yeah, Seraph teleporting way in the back. Ninja's going to have to go super far forward for this one. The standing out from Shin is going to wind up going down in the match. Lyra already getting chunked out here by Santorin as he collapses onto him, but they immediately peel off and protect their carry jungler. It's going to be a kill for Lyra on Santorin.
They were almost able to catch out Phoenix there, but he was able to flash out and survive. Still has the shockwave available, so despite once again getting a kill, Lyra is blinking low, and they have to be worried about Phoenix being able to punish them if they group up in this Baron Pit. Looks like they still might go for it here.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Envy forced GCU up the top side. Apollo looked like he wanted to push the mid lane, but the rest of the team decided to go for the Baron. So now they are in the pit. The Baron's still relatively healthy and solo leading the charge. It's a very tanky Shen, not taking a lot of damage. Seraph actually staying on this Baron. Lyra rejoins him in the pit. Like you said, this could be dangerous. Command Shockwave is still available. If Envy don't recognize that, this could be disastrous. Solo goes in. He's locked up on the Seraph, but Solo's taking a lot of damage now because he's taking the Baron. Has to dash and flash away. Now Mad Life's going to be the target. He will not go down as Ninja does not lend the back into the Orb of Deception. Less than 2,000 HP, and meanwhile, Ninja's been able to take down Phoenix. No Shockwave to be found. Lyra flashes over the wall. That's a kill for him on top of the Baron.
A very risky situation, but well played. Mash going to get caught out now as well. Tries to turn back onto Ninja, but with the Lulu there once again to keep the Ahri alive. That's a 3 for 0 in favor of EnVy. And that was a very risky situation that they actually played out pretty well, keeping the Baron leash that whole time and then peeling off, so it was actually Solo who ends up tanking a lot of it here. And knowing that they never had to worry about a spike contest coming in, so as long as the Baron's staying at around 3,000-4,000 health, it's fine. Ninja gets aggressive again when this arrow, his ult comes back up and is able to snipe out Phoenix and actually finish him off. So no shockwave used at all by Phoenix there. Ninja chunking members low over and over, and then Lyra, after he gets that Baron, wants to start getting aggressive.
And no command shockwave, no enchanted crystal arrow being used until this potential exit kill on the Ninja, which winds up going in favor of EnVy as well. So now 9 kills to 5, an 11,000 gold lead for Team EnVy. They've gotten themselves a Baron buff. There's still plenty of towers on the map that they have to try to push down, Mark. Things are looking really good here in Game 2 for EnVy.
Things are looking EnVy, but they are good for EnVy, excuse me, but they can't fall asleep at the wheel right now. They still don't have any inhibitor turrets cracked. The game is still in a situation that Gold Coin United, if they're able to wave clear, if they're able to stall out, they still likely have that better late game scaling team comp. A 12K gold lead is pretty substantial, so EnVy are in a great spot here, but they can't get lazy.
If they don't capitalize on utilizing this Baron buff, I might get a little bit worried, because as you mentioned, this is starting to go in Gold Coin United territory. They had the second longest average game time in the regular season of the North American Challenger Series. It was like 46.5 minutes or something. The only team that was longer was Delta Fox by like 2 seconds. So both of those teams had their issues controlling and closing out games, but Gold Coin United are definitely more adept at what to do in the later stages of the game. And if EnVy cannot break the base with this Baron buff, they cannot capitalize by taking an inhibitor, those gold advantages they got now are going to slowly but surely matter less and less and less as the game goes on.
And I like what they're doing here, setting up a 1-3-1 with Renekton in the top lane, Ahri in the bot lane. And Lyra is so strong at this point, and when combined with the Lulu pick, he doesn't really have to be scared of anything that the 3-man core of Madlife, Mash, and Santorin can throw at him. So he can pretty confidently walk up and start hitting these turrets, while the side lanes are basically just there holding out the scary members with all the CC from getting Lyra down.
I mean, we've heard of Juggermaw compositions. We heard of like the Super Lucian and Protect the 80 carry compositions. I never heard of the Buff the Graves kind of composition. I guess in this case for EnVy, other choices are close but no cigar.
That silence is intentional.
I was proud of it. I know Lyra's proud.
It wasn't bad. Yeah, Lyra's very happy with this game. We saw him rotate down there, trying to get something going with Ninja maybe. It's nice that they were able to grab that mid turret, see what else they can get here. Grouping up around mid lane. Now that Mash showed up in the top side, they're escorting this wave in, going to try and burn this one down.
Yep, so already going to try to break this mid lane inhibitor tower, and that was the question we posed. With this Baron buff, can they crack the base? The answer to that is yes. EnVy take down the mid lane inhibitor tower. May not be able to collapse down specifically onto the inhibitor, but they've gotten at least 2 towers off the back of this Baron.
You saw how, confident Lyra was walking up to that turret, not reacting at all to the damage that was being shot back at him. Between an Ashe, Karma, Kha'Zix, and Shen, you're not really scared of too much unless they're able to land some kind of chain CC on you with an Ashe arrow into a Shen taunt or something like that. But with Phoenix stuck on the bot side dealing with Ahri this whole time, that is a lot of the pick potential that you would be scared of if you're EnVy.
Well, EnVy have grouped up towards this Elder Dragon as that has spawned on the map, and it looks like they're going to be the ones to start this one up. Lyra's going to be content to kind of tank this one up as long as he got the Lulu from Hakuo on his backside helping him. Down below 5,000 HP. This is going down pretty quick. The Mountain Dragon's helping with that one. Gold Coin United, they're going to jump in here. The Dragon gets reset. Gold Coin are split, though. Solo's taking all the damage, and they're going for the Dragon. Santorin wants to try to finish this one off, and it looks like it will go over to Gold Coin United. They have yet to lose a member as Solo barely survives, but Ninja flashing and dashing forward. The Guardian Angel's going to get popped. Santorin runs back into the Redemption to heal up, but Madlife winds up falling. Phoenix is able to turn this around, though. They picked up some extra kills. Mash picks up a kill for himself as well, and what looked like to be bad for Gold Coin United turns out into a 2-for-1.
Yeah, Gold Coin United able to not only secure the Elder Dragon, which it looked like they were giving up kills in order to secure.
Uh-oh.
Phoenix getting very low, might go down here.
Ooh, dodge down the piercing arrow, but a flash forward from Hakuo says, I'll pick up that kill.
Ends up being a 2-for-2 right now. They're still on the chase, and Gold Coin United running to the wrong side of the map here.
Yeah, this does not bode well for GCU. That was a very big Baron power play, but a flash taunt from Solo winds up missing here. Apollo going to get locked up on, but Solo taking a ton of damage here. Mash will eventually pick up a kill, but over the wall comes Seraph. They're going to lock down onto Mash. That's another kill picked up there for EnVy, and only one aspect remains on Santorin.
I actually really like the idea for what Gold Coin United was looking for there. They had, we're taking a look at this Elder Dragon fight first. You see Solo miss that taunt, leaves him exposed for all of EnVy to focus down on. He's able to survive quite a while with all the shields that come in and the healing. It buys enough time for Santorin to finish out on this Elder Dragon, but he starts getting chunked out by Ninja, so it looks like GCU is in full retreat mode. There's no way that they can win this fight, but they go a little bit over-aggressive trying to finish off Solo there. Ninja and Lyra group up and get turned around on, eat that big Orianna Shockwave, and just barely Solo uses ultimate to escape there at the very end.
They're using the retreat Stand United, not the most well-known Stand United, but still. EnVy, they lost the Elder Dragon, although they were able to crack the base. They were able to pick up a ton of kills, both in that Baron fight beforehand and then in the ensuing Elder Dragon chase after. About a 7,500 gold Baron power play. Things are firmly in their control, but they still have to close out the game. They haven't taken the mid lane inhibitor yet, although they've cracked the base. They have their win condition right now, which is either, you know, Super Lyra on this Graze being buffed up by the Lulu, but Apollo himself in that team fight was dealing a ton of damage. He's actually gone for an interesting adaptation of this Varus build. Blade of the Rune King, cool. Lord Dominic's Regard, obviously for the penetration, has the Runon's Hurricane, but he's got Infinity Edge and the Ginsu's Rage Blade. So the longer he goes untouched in these fights, the more ridiculous amount of damage he's going to be putting out off of that Ginsu's.
Yeah, definitely a different build than what we've seen out of a lot of the Varuses, even after they start switching up to that Blade of the Rune King build first. And I'm going to say that I think Ashe will be better in the late game, but we see Ashe surprisingly going for the Black Cleaver. Kind of scared of just getting blown up by all the damage and poke that can come in from EnVy. They really don't need to commit many resources to hit the backline that easily. Graves' ultimate will hit through, the Varus Piercing Arrow will hit backline, and then you have to worry about, as soon as someone gets low, Ninja going flying in there with RA to just get some damage out as well. So I don't hate the idea of trying to end up a little tankier with the Black Cleaver build, and there's not a ton of armor on the side of EnVy. The only person who really has any is Seraph, so overall I think it's an interesting adaptation, but I'm not convinced it's the best.
Well, of course, going to give him a little bit extra cooldown that he might be missing out from not having that Essence Reaver build on the Ashe, but still not going to be giving as much armor penetration or even denying some healing coming out like a Mortal Reminder could be, or extra damage that would chunk through like the Giant Slayer passive coming out from the Lord Dominic's Regards.
Or an Infinity Edge if you want to do a bunch more damage.
Yeah, the Infinity Edge seems to be working out for Apollo. With Baron on the map, EnVy are going to be camping out on this side here. They're going to be the ones that want to try to utilize this next Baron buff as the game-winning Baron push, whereas the side of GCU, they have to deny that one. They still have a lot of things to come back from on this map. Only 3 towers down on their side. They're going to be hard-pressed to try to win a fight. Although Solo on the top side of the map has his teleport and Stand United available, is continuing to try to get some sideway pressure here. Bottom side of the map, minions in favor of Gold Coin United. EnVy, though, are going to immediately start on this Baron buff here, chunking it down well below half HP. This thing's going down pretty quick, and Gold Coin United have to respond. Both of those key teamfight ultimates are available as Solo in the front line gets locked up, but Seraph is not as tanky as he used to be. Takes a lot of damage well below half HP.
Gold Coin United able to chunk out the frontliner of Seraph there, forcing them away from the Baron, which regens back up. Gold Coin United have a little bit of pressure here and actually have vision control as well, so there's a chance that they could start this off. You see them going for it now. It looks like they're kind of committed to it.
They're chunking it down, not nearly as quick as EnVy was with that extra Mountain Drake on their side. The teleport comes in from Seraph. The Dominus has him pop. They immediately turn down onto the Renekton. Solo's trying to zone out the rest of the team. Seraph goes in to try to help him out, but now it's going to be Ninja using the flash and the dash on the opposite side. There's a tanky Seraph in the front line that will get the first kill onto Phoenix, and he was not able to use the command Shockwave. That means Lyra's going to charge forward. Will actually go down, though, after trading a kill for his life, but that means Apollo is fully stacked with his Rage Blade strong. Gold Coin United have to turn tail and run. A flash charm for Ninja won't land, but it forces Mash into the rest of the team. A 4-for-1.
Another great team fight by Ninja there, able to get onto Phoenix really early on to that team fight and getting so low that Phoenix was too busy dealing with trying to survive to be able to find a good opportunity to land a Shockwave. And once again, that's another fight where Phoenix dies before he can use it. So a good flank by Seraph. I like the decision by Gold Coin United to turn onto him while Solo just tries to backline. But there you see Ninja being able to go over and hit Phoenix with that charm, get him super low. Damage thrown in by Ninja as well. And then Seraph able to be the final kind of damage and finish him off before getting his GA popped. And off the back of that fight, we see them trying to get some more of these map objectives down. They grab the mid inhibitor, they grab the bot inhibitor turn, they're looking for the bot inhibitor as well.
Yeah, with Santorin the only one alive for the side of GCU, that means EnVy just pretty much have a heyday with breaking the base. The Baron is still up on the map. That's going to be even easier to take now that you have super minions pushing on the bot and the mid side from GCU.
EnVy showing that they have the chops to go with GCU late game. And as much as we kind of have been talking about the Ninja versus Phoenix matchup being way better for Phoenix, after laning phase this game, Ninja's actually been outperforming him by a fair amount in a lot of these team fights. Yes, there was the Elder Dragon fight where Ninja might have gone a little bit too aggressive and died for it, but in a couple of these other situations, he's been able to get multiple members of Gold Coin United very low, and then that last team fight put enough pressure on the Phoenix that he couldn't find an opportunity to land that kind of big game-changing shockwave that we've been saying you look out for if you're EnVy.
Well, Gold Coin United are looking for a game-changing Baron here. This may be a little bit desperate here. They've chunked out Seraph. He has no Guardian Angel. The taunt is going to land. Wildcard gets used on the tank. The redemptions are out. They can't quite burn down Seraph, but he will wind up falling, but not before they trade Mad Life's life for it. Ninja on the backside was able to get that one. He already used the Spirit Dash going forward. He only blocks down the Solo, and that's a lot of damage coming out from Phoenix's Orianna. EnVy, they have to turn tail and run from this one, but they do stop the Baron.
A little bit of commentator's curse there. Almost let Ninja go down. He's able to live. Now Santorin caught in the pit, gets out. It was a little scary there for Ninja if he was actually going to go down to any kind of burn damage, but Leander's Torment not going to do that. Now EnVy starting up this Baron thinking GCU might have recalled back to their base. Not quite the case, but they just need to hold them here because they do have both inhibitors down in the bot and mid lane.
Yeah, super minions can pretty much do the job for them if they just continue to bait around this Baron buff area. Phoenix still has the Command Shockwave available, and Mash's Enchanted Crystal Arrow will be up in just a couple of seconds, but immediately EnVy turn back onto this Baron. Less than half HP. There's no one else around from GCU to try to steal this one away. EnVy, second Baron of the game.
Second Baron of the game. They already have 2 inhibitors down. They're going to reset here before grouping up around the top side, try and get that last one. You see Solo no longer able to put up a good fight against all these super-powered minions. He needs the rest of his team to help him out.
It's like a 1v50. It's not fair. It's just one Ninja. I know ninjas work alone, but when you got that many super minions on the opposing side, you might need a little bit of help, and EnVy knows this one. 2 super minion waves on the bottom side of the map. Ninja immediately goes to the top side to get that one pushing. Minion waves on the bottom and the middle side are going to be ferried up here by the rest of EnVy. Would not be surprised to see them just move up to meet Ninja up here and continue to push and pull GCU across their own base.
Ninja knows he's safe to be up there pushing. All of GCU's in the base dealing with all those super creeps. Now they're moving up here, going to get a little bit of vision as Hakuho wants to make sure no flanks can potentially come in on the side of GCU. And EnVy looking pretty poised to take game number 2 here.
EnVy definitely in pole position here in game 2. Large gold lead, stayed with them pretty much the entire game, and Gold Coin United were not able to equalize that one. GCU did not have the split push pressure this time around. It was EnVy with Seraph, kind of Lyra and Ninja, all working in tandem to get multiple sideways pushing, continuing to keep up the pressure. Most importantly, though, I think this Lulu pickup from Hakuho has definitely been a big backbone to the EnVy composition this game. He himself has not died. More importantly, he's letting Lyra, he's letting Ninja get super aggressive when they move in and try to chunk down key members or go for these tower pushes and just keeping them alive, having them survive so long.
The bot lane of EnVy is definitely kind of the unsung hero for this game. We've seen high and low moments from Ninja. Seraph has had pressure for almost the entire game, but yeah, Hakuho has been really following around the action all over the map and keeping members alive when it looked like GCU might be able to turn some kills back in their favor. And I think that might have been the biggest adaptation between Game 1 and Game 2 was securing a stronger bot lane for the team so that they had pressure to follow up on whatever Lyra wanted to do, as well as the fact that he's been playing the pick well in these kind of team situations.
Well, the Super Minions have hit the Nexus Towers, which is the go signal for EnVy to push down and take their 3rd and final top lane inhibitor. EnVy now are going to have every single lane of Super Minions pushing in GCU. I can't see them holding on for much longer here, Mark. They're barely holding on against 2 waves of Super Minions, let alone now that the Baron buff is grouped up.
There's no Ash Arrow either.
Nexus Tower goes down. Solo's going to wind up going, and this looks like the last potential fight for Gold Coin United. Santorin is all by himself, and he's going to get his Guardian Angel pop. Ninja in the backline, though, is going to get locked up by a taunt, but they are able to pick up Phoenix. Santorin falls after the revive. Shockwave is not used again. Mash will trade back a kill, but they're just focusing on the towers here for the side of EnVy. The Nexus is exposed, and Seraph, Apollo, and Hakuho look to be trying to end the game. They're going to even it up at 1-1.
A good bounce-back game there by Team EnVy, and most of all, winning it in the late game, something that they struggled to do all season long in the NALCS. Here against Gold Coin United, being able to show that they have what it takes to play the Baron games. They had a lot of baits around there, a lot of team fights, and they came out on top.
Yeah, EnVy may have had a little bit of practice coming into the last week. They had a game like that against CLG where they were the ones on the defending side of things. This time around, this game was 52.5 minutes, not very close to the 60 to 70 minutes of that game. But most impressively, both of these teams seem to have kind of won the games that we expected to kind of be the opposite for each other. Goldcoin United won the first game, which is under 40 minutes long, and now EnVy coming in, taking the 52.5-minute victory, controlling the game pretty much from, well, the 10, 15 minutes, since first blood, let's put it that way.
And I think we talked about how important Liga is to the team, him having good early games. This time did have a good early game starting, just a couple minutes in when he goes for this aggressive blue buff invade on Santorin. He's able to take that one away, able to get a kill, first blood eventually. That sets him up for some great pathing later on. He also helps get the first turret. And all of EnVy's kind of gameplay keys off Lyra, and everyone else had better games as well. We talked about Hakuho having a better game, Ninja having a better game, but it does mostly key off of Lyra's play.
Yeah, and because Lyra was such a driving force in that one, not only was he a big driving factor, but he shut down Santorin, and they weren't able to establish that vision control that Goldcoin United really needs to push their small incremental advantages forward.
Right, and I think also limiting Phoenix a little bit. He still tried to make some big plays with the Orianna pick, but in the late game, he was struggling with his positioning as he got killed in a lot of team fights relatively early on.
Yeah, so that's going to be it for game number 2. So now let's check in with the analyst sets to see what they make of that EnVy victory.
Thank you very much, Tom. EnVy able to even up here in the series 1-1, so they'll be happy about that.
Yeah.
And let's dive right into how they did it. Now, I'm going to bring up maybe an unpopular opinion in the face of a victory from EnVy here. I personally am not a huge fan of the drafts for this team. All split long, for the most part. For the majority of the split, haven't been a huge fan of the way that Team EnVy likes to draft, because to me, I don't have a clear understanding of the identity of this team comp. How exactly does this team want to fight? Well, how do they win?
It's what every player ever says in solo queue. It's win lane, lose game, right? and their stats show it, their record shows it. Team EnVy is a win lane, lose game team. When they play LCS teams, thankfully they're against a challenger team, a good challenger team to be fair, but a challenger team at that, and so they don't always lose the game late game anymore.
Right, win game or win lane can turn into a one game sometimes.
Yeah, and as you're mentioning, you are maligning the comps, and again, their stats prove it, the record proves it, but it's, who's your hard engage of? Flash Charm, Flash Verisalt, Renekton Flank, these are not reliable tools. They are not. But if they can get ahead in the early game, and they can scrape together some level of macro gameplay, then they're going to be okay. And we saw they had some decent team fights. Seraph would two-shot people, and they would get some good damage. And crucially, comparing the fact that they won this game compared to the first one, Phoenix went off on Vladimir in game 1. But Ahri is actually the counterpick to Orianna, or it's supposed to be in the pro play. And Ninja withstood Phoenix and kept him down. And okay, Phoenix had a CS lead, but did not take over the game. And that's a really big deal. It's not the same kind of carry as Vladimir, and so that same win condition was not there for GC.
But it's an individual matchup kind of situation. And so again, if we kind of return to the macro elements of these two team comps, as you mentioned here, we have no clear hard engage. Yes, there are a couple tools. You got to pick here, you land the ultimate here, but they're follow-up. It's not the easy point-and-click Maokai route or something the like. Whereas on the flip side over here, you've got an easy go button in the Ashe arrow, or even a Shen TP onto a leaping in Kha'Zix, or an Ori ball put into the right
because
place.
you want to be follow-up.
And so to me, this feels like both simpler execution in the sense that as a team, I know how to play this. I know what I need to do to execute properly. Over here, I'm a little bit more confused, and I'm relying on individual playmaking to bring me success.
Sure.
So now I want to take a look at an actual example of how these two team comps kind of matched up against each other within the game itself. This is going to be a dragon fight. No deaths are going to come through, but GCU will shine.
Right, and it's EnVy, they popped the Renekton ultimate, they're ready to go. Lyra got the shield, okay, gets taunted up, and they just have to disengage, right? They've never been able to get themselves into this one. It was a game that they were kind of winning in a little bit early on, and they can try to kill frontline. They can't quite do the damage, and then as the team disengages, they're like, well, Ahri can queue for some move speed, but nothing really ever comes of it. And that's the weakness, right? And that's it shown up. And if GCU were a better team, especially with the fact that EnVy don't have ways of really cementing further advantages easily, I think a better team could have come back from this. And we saw that all LCS long.
Again, I mean, the big fights that we saw go in EnVy's favor were around the Baron pit, where, where Ahri's able to come in or over walls, land charms on crucial targets, or at least get passed through on her, on her orb for multiple people. But for the most part, it is in those more chaotic fights that they were finding victories, not the ones that were set up like that Dragon, where both teams have the option to kind of set up for the fight. I found that Goldcoin United's team comps far outweighed EnVyUs.
Sure, and for what it's worth, though, like I do want to give some credit to Team EnVy because they did win the game.
Yes.
They did make it happen. Okay, 50 minutes, but they did it. And it's, yeah, they picked a win lane team comp, and it's chaotic. But if you have lane pressure, you get to deep ward. Lyra gets to be Lyra at all times because the guy is insanely good at League of Legends and gets all the flanks. And look, if you can keep all the lane pressure with all your winning 1v1 matchups, and you get the deep wards, and you can keep playing for the flanks, and the Aura gets behind people, and the Graves gets behind people, then it works out. And we've seen very good teams play that kind of style. I mean, Jat did a breakdown on SKT playing a no-tank team comp. If you keep the pressure, you get the picks. It's just that EnVy throughout the LCS weren't able to do that very successfully, but this time they did, so hey, I'm glad it worked out.
So I was going to say, in spite of the fact that I don't like the draft, EnVy still comes out on top. So the series is evened up at 1-on-1. We're going to step away for just a moment, but stay tuned for Game 3 between EnVy and Goldcoin United. Don't go anywhere.
Ash. Ash on the flash. I got taunted. Ash, 1 HP.
Speed 2,
1
speed 2.
HP.
I'm gonna speed. 2 seconds. 1, 0. I'm speeding. Hurry.
I have Jonya.
Push me.